repeat with me. Sing along on the second repeat of each phrase that I do. Yearning, 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 Sorry. welcome to Maqam Lessons. Today we are doing Jins Sikah, which is the root jins of Maqam Huzam and Maqamat of the Sikah family. If you have been trying to follow along with an instrument, you might be frustrated if you're tuned normally, and that is intentional. I've chosen a key that is not particularly good for instruments in standard tuning. I'm doing Sikah on D half flat today. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that I want to discourage you from using instruments at first. If you are an instrumentalist, it's very important to learn to sing, especially when we're dealing with this particular jins and this particular maqam. It's very important to get it into your ears, physically into your body, using your voice before trying on your instrument. And the second reason is really that this is actually a great key for us to do all the melodies that's comfortable for men and for women. It's sort of in the middle of the range. So it's a good key. I've chosen it, and we'll be seeing Sikah in different keys, both in the subsequent lessons in this unit, in the Maqam family of Maqam Sikah and Huzam and all of its family members. And also for those of you who are Patreon supporters, I'll be recording some lessons in different keys on the Patreon page. So it's a good segue. If you are able to afford lessons, a small amount a month, and are not a Patreon supporter yet, please consider supporting me via the link right in the description below. I depend on my Patreon supporters to keep me going so I can keep making these lessons available for free on YouTube. So if you are one of those who are benefiting and can just spend a few dollars a month to help keep this going, I'd really appreciate your support. So thank you very much for that. And a huge thanks to everyone who's already doing it. So we're doing Jins Sikah on D half flat, but let's continue and let's use the numbers to identify where we are and understand what we're doing a little bit more. So this is our tonic. Please repeat after me. That's just the tonic. You can say this melody. Ya lil. That's a good melody to get you into the Sikah tonic. And you can hear if I go this note wants to resolve down Now that wanting to resolve down is purely a result of the melodic expectation. That is the result of you hearing these melodies over and over again, and me resolving always to there. So this feeling of expectation and resolution is purely the result of familiarity. There's nothing intrinsic about the notes that makes one have to move to the other. It's just your expectation based on your ear. So if you're not hearing that yet, then you want to spend a little bit more time listening. Yeah, and you can hear that note. Yeah, wants to resolve. So this note of resolution we'll call 1. 1, 2 is always a tense note. 2, 1. Repeat after me. 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And you'll notice that a lot of melodies will hit on 3 in Jinseka. 3 is our ghammaz. The ghammaz is a secondary note of emphasis that is important in a jins or a maqam. And we have our tonic here, and then our ghammaz here, and that can become a new tonic where we modulate, as we'll see in the maqamat of the family. And you'll notice melodic emphasis. That melody that we just started with, yanin, yanin, was 3, 2, 1, 7, 1. 3 2 1 7 1. 1 7 6 7 1 1 7 6 7 1. 1 2 3 3 3 3. 1 2 3 3 3 3. 3 2 1 3 2 1. 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3 4. 4 3 3 4 3. 4 3 3 4. 4 3 3 2 3. 4 3 3 2 3. 2 3 2 1 2 3 2 1 2. 4 3 2 1 4 3 2 1. Let's get used to this feeling of 2. 2 3 2 1 2. 2 3 2 1 2. 3 2 3 2 3 2. 3 2 3 2 3 2. 4 3 2 4 3 2. At this point, you should be starting to feel the expectation. 2 4 3 2, wanting to go down to 1 4 3 2 1. And let's get used to that feeling of 3. 1 3 3 3 3 2 1 1 3 3 3 3 2 1 1 7 1 2 3 1 7 1 2 3 3 2 3 2 3 3 2 3 2 3 3 4 3 3 4 3 4 3 2 4 3 2. Notice our melodic attention has gone down to the 2 3 2 3 2 2 3 2 3 2 3 2 1 7 1 2 3 3 2 1 7 1 2 3 3 2 1 7 6 3 2 1 7 6. Now, two things happened there. One was that the 7 changed from 1 7 to 1 7. 7 got a little bit lower, and we landed on the 6. 3 2 1 7 6. If you've taken these lessons before, you should recognize that Jins. That is Jins rust. 3 2 1 7 6. On the 6. Rust on the 6 underneath the tonic. Yeah, lil, yeah, lil, yeah, 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 lil, yeah, 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 lil. So Sika is on the 3rd scale degree of rust. 1 2 3. Even if I modify 1 2 3, that note underneath the Sika tonic sometimes gets raised. But Sika, and this is where we get the name Sika. Sika means 3rd note in Persian, in Farsi. And this reflects a time when Farsi was used, and there were a lot of Persian theorists involved in the music theory of Maqam. And so you'll hear a lot of note names in Persian music and in Arabic music. Duka, Sika, Jiharka, 2nd note, 3rd note, Yeka, 1st note. But the Maqam name Sika has still retained that. And even that note name, Arabs often will refer to that 3rd scale degree as a Sika note. That is the half flat, the quote unquote quarter tone note that's not really a quarter tone. That is on the 3rd scale degree of rust. It's the Sika note, 3rd note in Persian. So that's where it gets its name. And that's a little bit about Sika overall. Let's go back to just some more singing. Yeah, yeah, ya neen, ya neen, ya neen, ya neen, yeah, yeah, ya neen, ya neen, ya neen, ya neen, Yanin, Yalin, Yalin. Notice the emphasis on two that's happening right now. 2, 1. Yanin, Yalin, Ya, Ya, Yanin, Yanin, Yalin, 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 Yanin, 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 Yanin. I've been resisting going up to this note. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Partly because it's in the traditional theory, it's outside of the scope of Jins Sikah, was just these 3 notes. 1, 2, 3. But you see the melodies have been using up to 4, 3, 2, 1, and down underneath 7, 6, 7, 1. So the true scale fragment used for Jins Sikah is actually stretching from the 6 below all the way up to the 4 above. Once we get to that 5, we're really in the area of Hijaz on 3, 5, 4, 3, 2, 3. That Hijaz on 3 is really such a strong part of Sikah that I really can't avoid it, even when I'm trying to present the Jins in isolation from the Maqam family. We're going to see that in the Maqam family, no matter what else happens on 3, that Hijaz is always present. It always comes back to Hijaz, even if we have Bayati on 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yanin, 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 yanin. Now this is kind of a new Jins. This is an emphasis on 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yanin, 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 yanin. I'm actually going to devote the next Maqam lesson to that Jins, the 5th scale degree of Sikah. It's a unique Jins that occurs only in the Maqamat of this family. So it's because the melodic area of Sikah is so small, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, it's really common to go outside of it. And I'm doing something a little bit artificial by really keeping myself in this Jins for so long. Normally I would go up to all the other ajnas in order to experience them over the course of the Maqam. So let me give you a few examples of this Jins that we're going to see in more detail in the Maqamat. And then also I'll give you a little bit of an introduction to what we're going to do over the course of this coming unit, which is unit 4 of the Maqam lessons, focusing on the Maqamat of the Huzam Sikah family. الورد جميل جميل الورد الورد جميل جميل الورد So there you have it, right there, Jins Sikah from the opening of that song. 1 3 2 1 2 1 1 3 2 1 2 1. And this is going to be one of our main examples in the Maqam lesson. It's one of the most famous songs in Maqam or Maqam Sikah. الورد جميل جميل الورد جميل جميل الورد جميل. As soon as we go there, we've moved to Hijaz on 3. 5 6 7 6 5 4 3. So I'm already going to stop this example because we've left. وله أوراق عليها دليل من الأشواق. Back to Jinseka. Sikah Hijaz Sikah الورد جميل. Another example we're going to use جدك الغيث, and I'm going to stop there again. 3 2 1 7 1 2 3 جدك الغيث. And a great example, and I'm going to put some we have a playlist, a Maqam Sikah, Maqam playlist. One of the most famous forms of improvisation, vocal improvisation, in this particular Maqam is what's known as Abu Zhalif in Lebanese music. And there's some great examples of Sabah, Nur al-Hoda, and Wadia Safi, among others, singing this particular genre of improvisation. And it usually starts like this. Hayat ya Abu Zhalif. Ending on 2 1 3 2 1. Hi-hat 1 3 Abu Zhalif. And the famous answer that answer Muhammad Abdul Wahab stole from the Lebanese tradition for his instrumental composition known as Layali Lubnan, Nights of Lebanon. And then the vocalist will sing, I had ya Abu Zhalif. So we can do some melodies that are related to that. I'm going to still go back to Yalil. Yalin, 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 Okay, now I did something different, and this gets into the second part of what we want to do in this video, which is there are 2 variants of Jins Sikah that we're going to experience over the course of this Maqam. And I just did the first one known as Mustaar. So repeat after me. Yadini yanin, yadini yanin, 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 yeah. So can you identify what happened, what was different from Jins Sikah? Here's Jins Sikah. Yanin, 1 2 3. And Jins Mustaar sounded like this. 1 3 2 3 1 1, 3, 2, 3. Back to Sikah, 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 3. 3, 2, 3. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. So the 2, you might have noticed, is raised for Mustaar. And we also got a different 4 and 5. 1, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 3. 5, 4, 3, 2, 3. 1, 1. Now you might feel the 3 very strongly. And what are you feeling on 3? That is a Nahawand on 3. Nahawand with its leading tone, the 2 is raised. Yanin, 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 yanin. So that's Musta'ar on the same tonic as the Sikah. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 3, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 3, 1. So you'll hear Musta'ar sometimes coming in on top of the Sikah, raising that 2 and giving you the Nahawand. And the Nahawand on 3 is such a crucial part of the Jins that it's really almost impossible for us to separate the Nahawand component of it, although we can identify, okay, there's this Nahawand component on 3, and the Mustaar itself is 1, 2, 3, and 3, 4, 3, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3 is the Nahawand part. So they really fit together melodically. They're inseparable. Yeah, so that's Mustaar. Yanin, 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 yanin. And I went back to Sikah at the end. I moved the 2 down, and that's also very common. When Mustaar comes in, it's not going to sit for a very long time. It's going to just pass through very quickly and then go back to the normal Sikah. Ya nini, ya nini, ya nin, ya nin, ya nini, ya nini. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 5, 4, 3. 5, 4, 3. 3, 2, 3, 1. 3, 2, 3, 1, 2. Back to the Sikah 2. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. Back to the Sikah 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, Mustaar is also another place that it occurs is actually as a secondary jins within Maqam Rust. So if I have Rust on 6, Rust 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I'm going to sing in Rust and we're going to get to Mustaar. It's the same Mustaar that we used on the 3rd scale degree of Rust in place of the 3rd scale degree of Sikah. So I got back to the Rust. 5, 6, 7, 8. So we had Mustaar just as a little taste. And when it occurs in Rust, that's exactly what's going to happen. Just that little taste moving up And there's a couple examples from Muhammad Abdul Wahab and Muhammad Khairi in the Maqam Rust playlist. And we'll get back to that when we do a bigger unit on Maqam Rust. We're also going to see how that connection between Rust and Musta'ar works in Maqam Sikah specifically, which is going to, again, be a future lesson. The other variant of Jins Sikah is this. Ya Yanin, Ya Yanin. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. So what happened there? Normal Sikah, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Hayhat ya Abu Zhalif. Hayhat ya Zhalif. 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 1. And this jins we call Jins Mukhalif. Traditionally, it's been called Jins Mukhalif. Some people I've heard call it Jins Ramal. But inside Arabic music in the book, we've decided, and on the website Maqam Lessons, and my website, and Johnny's website Maqam World, we have decided to call it Jins Mukhalif Sharqi. The reason for this is to distinguish it from the true Mukhalif, which is a maqam in the Iraqi system, which is much more complicated. It starts like this, but it has its own melodic contour that is much further developed. It's a very complex and difficult maqam. And this little thing that happens as a little, it's just like a tiny little ornament. It's just a little taste. And that's the way it occurs. It's not fully developed in the Sharqi maqam system. Sharqi meaning Eastern. And by that, we're actually referring to the maqam system of Egypt and Syria, which is often referred to as Sharqi music. And that's the music that I perform. So we called this Jins Mukhalif Sharqi to distinguish it from the true Iraqi Maqam Mukhalif. And most famous example of this occurs actually also in the context of Rust, in the famous song Ghanni Shwaya. So Ghanni Shwaya, Shwaya, Ghanni 1, 2, 3. And we tonicize 3 in a later verse. أحلف لك برب البيت. There we have Jinseka. أحلف لك برب البيت يا مصدق برب البيت. أحلف لك برب البيت يا مصدق. You can hear the Sikah. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. يا مصدق 1, 3 برب البيت. 1, 3, 1, 2, 1 is the melodic contour of that verse. أحلف لك برب البيت. لأسحركم إذا غنيت. لأسحركم إذا غنيت. وأرقص. So there we had the Mukhalif just slipping in between Sikah and Sikah. Sikah, Mukhalif, Mukhalif, Sikah. Just like that. Wa'aragis, back to Sikah. So let me just sing the whole passage for you again one more time. أحلف لك برب البيت سيكا نصدق برب البيت لأسحركم إذا غنيت لأسحركم إذا غنيت 1, 2, 3, 2, 1 لأسحركم إذا غنيت وأرقص 1, 2, 3. But it's really 3, 4, 5 because we're back to Rust. وأرقص بنات الحي شوية 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 غني لي غني خد عينيا And we saw there how Sikah came in as a secondary jins of Maqam Rust on its third scale degree. And that's also a famous example of where Jins Sikah occurs in that secondary context. So those are the two variants, really. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1 is Mukhalif, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1 is Mustaar Mukhalif. We can put them together. Yalini yanin, yalini yanin, yalini, yalini, ya, yalini, yalini, yanin, yalin. And either Mukhalif or Musta'ar can use the part underneath the tonic also. Yalin, yalin, yanin, yalin, yanini, yanini. 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 7, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 1, 7, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. So, yeah, that's basically the ajnas that are on Jins Sikah. We're going to see a lot more of that within Maqam Sikah and Maqam Huzam. So this is the beginning of that unit. We're going to have one lesson covering, the next lesson is going to cover the 5th scale degree. And then we're going to get into the maqamat. And the most famous maqam is the one known as Huzam, which has Hijaz on the 3rd scale degree. And that's the one you're going to hear most often. Sikah really emphasizes that rust on the 6. Now that Nahawand is also part of Rust, but also part of Mustaar. So that's going to be another lesson illustrating both Maqam Mustaar and Maqam Sikah, both of which are actually quite rare. Really, Maqam Mustaar and Maqam Sikah are just pathways within Huzam for the most part. There are a few examples where they're emphasized a little bit more, and it might be fair to call them a maqam, but for the most part, they just occur within Maqam Huzam. And we're going to do Maqam Iraq, which should not be confused with the Iraqi maqam. It is a version of Sikah with Bayati on 3. And we're going to explore the famous song Sirat al-Hub in that lesson. And then we're going to do Maqam Bastanikar, which has Saba on the 3, 2, 1 of Sikah. Zalamu, Zalamu, the famous Abdul Halim song Zalamu is in Bastanikar, so we're going to analyze that song coming up. So those are the main branches of the Maqam Sikah family that we're going to explore in the next few units. And what I wanted to say to you at this point, if you're totally new to the Maqam Lesson series, before you go into the rest of those lessons, I highly advise you to go back and review the Maqam lessons we've done so far. The reason is this. We've done these 3 units. Unit 1 and Unit 3 covered Maqam Rast in its basic form and Maqam Nahawand. And Unit 2 covered all of the ajnas that we're going to see on the 3rd scale degree of Sikah: Hijaz, Bayati, Kurd, and Saba. And what we're going to see in the maqamat of the Sikah family is that this maqam structure that we've already seen in the previous maqamat is going to be just put on the 3rd scale degree of Sikah. So we're going to see how Maqam Rast intersects with Maqam Sikah and Maqam Huzam. We've already seen a taste of that when we looked at Ghanili Shweya and how Sikah is fitting on the 3rd scale degree of Rast. So understanding Rast is key to understanding Maqam Sikah, and understanding especially Maqam Hijaz and Maqam Bayati is very crucial to understanding Maqam Sikah family, because we're going to see that some of the things that happen in Maqam Hijaz and Maqam Bayati beyond the Jins are going to happen in Maqam Sikah. So Sikah is really, and Huzam is really kind of an advanced maqam, aside from the fact that it's rooted on a quarter tone note. We haven't even talked about that because I don't like to talk about that stuff. I don't like to distract you with tuning concerns. You're going to learn the tuning by copying the melodies. If you're new to these maqam lessons, you'll hear a little bit more of that rationale explained in earlier lessons. But the short reason is that you can't really learn the tuning of the notes of the scale in isolation. You have to learn the melodies in order to learn them. So I present them in this way in order for you to really start to embody the tuning by learning the melodic context. We talked about that in detail in Maqam Lesson 24, talking about comparing the Maqam Nahawand versus the minor scale. So anyway, a bit of a tangent there. And I think that that is all I want to share with you at this particular moment. So thank you very much for listening and watching. I am going to play you out, but I did want to say one more thing. It's been a bit of time since I published my last lesson. I had some deaths of people close to me, and other than my father-in-law who passed away at the end of October, my teacher Alfred Gamil passed away in early November, and he was the most important Arabic music teacher that I had, so I wanted to acknowledge him here. Alfred Gamil, he was in his mid-60s, so he was too young to go, and he had a huge impact on me. He really is the person who taught me how to learn music by ear. I went to him in 2001. I actually took lessons from him at the Arabic Music Retreat in August of 2000, and that convinced me to go study with him in fall 2001, which I did, and I spent a year in Cairo living with him, well, not living with him, but living near him and studying with him several times a week, kind of an apprenticeship relationship with him, where I would go over and watch him rehearse his ensemble and hang out with him as he invited other musicians over. So I really got to immerse myself in the music, and I feel very lucky to have that experience. And Alfred was very generous with me, with his mind, with his time, with his understanding. So I'm really grateful to Alfred, and I wanted to say that. He leaves behind a lot of really amazing students. And so I wanted to really dedicate this lesson to him, because he's the one who set me on the path that led me to understanding that learning music by ear is crucial, and transform my understanding. And understanding that our teachers are always, could pass at any time. I just wanted to also acknowledge my other teachers of Arabic music. Simon Shaheen was my first teacher. Jihad Rossi was the first person at the Arabic Music Retreat who I heard teaching in this call and response fashion. singing Yelin. Yelin. He would have the whole orchestra do that. So that was my introduction to this style of teaching, which is popular in parts of the Arab world among some teachers. I also want to acknowledge my teachers in Syria, Muhammad Qasas, Abdul Basit Bakar, and Abdul Minaim Sankari from Aleppo, who I haven't seen in many years, but they were very influential on me. And I want to acknowledge Yusuf Kassab, who I took some vocal lessons with about a decade ago. And those have been my main teachers, and I want to acknowledge them and thank them because I know that, it's dark to say so, but since I've had a few deaths recently, it's on my mind. I want to acknowledge these people and thank them with the gratitude for what they've given me that has enabled me to offer these things to you. So this lesson is dedicated to Alfred and to all my teachers, and I'll play you out with a little bit of Jins Sikah and Maqam Huzan.